All right, let's get started with the Arizona Cardinals.
Oh, yeah. This is a really interesting team, too. They've made a few really interesting off-season additions, and they were actually kind of more exciting than I think people thought last year.
Yeah, to be honest with you, there wasn't really that many boring games from Arizona. And I think statistically, when you watch what happened against Arizona, that was probably one of the more exciting things, watching literally them get trounced on the ground.
In the ground.
Just like disgusting.
Yeah.
They got run all over. And so, anytime you have something like that happening, it's an exciting game. And they had a couple miracles coming out from a whole bunch of different positions. And to be honest with you, I don't see a lot of those players trending in the ones that were there last year, trending in the same direction this year. But the additions that have been given to Arizona, I think, are going to be the ones that really top the charts. And I think honestly the entire fantasy community is just about ready for everything that Arizona brought to the team. Yeah. But John, you want to kick us into that?
I think they're going to be a lot more interesting. So I'm on Action Network at the moment. I'm looking at their season over-under. Their line is 6.5 wins. And I actually really don't mind the over on that.
Oh, that's such in the wheelhouse. Like that's got you by the balls. Like it's tough. That's 6.5.
7. Yeah, but think about some of their wins last year. So week 3, plus 12 favorites against Dallas. They won that game. Plus 13 favorites underdogs. I should say underdogs against Philly week 17. They won that game outright. Like they beat the Steelers, the Falcons, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. That's impressive.
It is, but like those games almost just like felt like if the Cowboys were going to lose a game, that was the game they were like. It felt like coming into that week, and I don't know why it just felt like that for me, but like I had a hard time with selecting the winners and losers over and unders with Arizona last year.
Yeah,
which is why we don't even really talk about this on the show. But I had a very hard time judging what was going to happen with Arizona, because from week to week, that team looked like an entirely different team.
Yeah. It was. That's so true. If you bring up their defensive play from last year, which you'll be looking at now on the screen. So the things that stood out to me the most was the run game. Arizona's run defense was so bad. If you
atrocious.
Bet the over on every opposing running back's rush attempts, except for week 9 against Cleveland, basically from week 3 onwards, you would have made so much money. And if you actually have a look as well, under the quarterback ranking, you've got the passing attempts and the passing completions. Teams were game planning this. They knew that
they were firing.
They weren't throwing the ball. Like Matthew Stafford, his line for pass attempts was 37.5 in week 6, and they was not even close. They had no plan in doing that. Same with
Kyren Williams,
Baltimore. That's it. Everyone was rushing on them. One thing that was really interesting though was their cornerback. So this must have been, I'm trying to think, Budda Baker, or hang on, let me bring him up on our lads. Yeah, Budda Baker. He was playing really, really well last year. So wide receiver ones for teams were not having any success. Puka Nacua, week 12, couldn't get it done. George Pickens, week 13, couldn't get it done. They were shutting down.
I love how you kind of half laughed when you said George Pickens there, like treating his last season like he was WR1. Come on. Yeah, both of them. No, the Steelers were fucking doo-doo.
Yeah, exactly. DK Metcalf couldn't get it done. AJ Brown couldn't get it done. DJ Moore, like these were guys that we were regularly betting the over on, and Budda Baker was shutting them down. So I'm going to be really interested to see how they perform in that perspective as well.
Yeah. I think the divisional games are going to be ground and pound still this season. Every time the Rams or the Seahawks play the Cardinals, I just kind of prepare for overtime and a tie game.
Yeah, basically.
Like it just kind of feels that way, like every time they play each other, it's so ruthless, like trenches football. I don't even remember the last time there's been an air raid kind of game against a divisional opponent. So, at least that there's going to be, at least a third of the season is going to be hard-nosed football,
Mm.
and you just brace for it. But the do you think that the Cardinals go back to throwing the ball more than running it? Do you think that they go back to a place where they try and control the clock? When it was Kingsbury there,
Right.
legitimately the script was, it doesn't matter how many yards get pushed against us, we're going to try and get more.
Yep.
So do you think that this team leans more in that direction, John? Or statistically, do you think that this team leans more in favor of, hey, do we try and control the clock more? Are we going to be a more balanced team?
Yep.
What do you think?
I think Jonathan Gannon definitely wants to be a more balanced team. It was interesting. So Drew Petzing, their offensive coordinator, that was his first season last year, and it was not bad. Like if you look at Kyler, he came back week 10, and from there on, he did take a while to get started. A lot of these betting lines. So he started out at around 240 passing yards, and he wasn't hitting those, so they dropped it down to about 220 for the final 4 games of the season. And he went over nearly all of them as well. His pass attempts went over and his pass completions went over their prop lines of 21.5 last year. So you could see they
Trent.
eased back in. They had their bye week 14, and then they were like, let's let it rip. And I think with the additions, if we talk about like off-season additions, they brought in Marvin Harrison Jr.
That's the biggest one on the board. That's the biggest addition.
Yeah. So this is what we need to talk about. So their first 4 games of the season, Buffalo week 1, the Rams, Detroit, and then Washington.
They're going to have to throw.
I really like Marvin Harrison for all of those games. Like,
What do you think? Week 1, he comes out and gets 100? What do you think?
yeah, well, think about Buffalo, and we will talk about Buffalo pretty soon. Do I think he gets 100? No, but I think he'll have a line of around 65.5 receiving yards
That
for a
seems
first
super
game.
high for a rookie. That's so
It's
high.
It
It's
is
got
high.
to be in the 50s.
But like, think about Buffalo's cornerbacks. Like, they let go of like Tre'Davious White, and the other guys. Like they've got Rasul Douglas they brought over from the Packers. Taylor Rapp has come over from the Rams to play free safety for them. Like there is not a lot back there. They drafted Cole Bishop, and he's listed as like one of the high end free safeties for them. So there's not too much there stopping them. And I think that the Cardinals might actually have a decent run week 1.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that game is going to be a lot closer than the books are going to call it.
Yeah, I think so as well. Exactly. Because I'm wondering, like, we'll talk about Buffalo soon, but are Buffalo going to start to trend down?
I think for a season or two.
Yeah, I think so.
I do too. I do too. I think this might be the year that the Bills, if they do make the playoffs, it's a squeak and a prayer.
Yeah. Hey, I've got something for you that I think might excite you. So, who are some fantasy running backs that you drafted in our rookie draft for the Buffalo?
I drafted Ray Davis because I think he's an absolute stud, and I didn't even care what team he went to. John knows this. Like dating back in the last season in college football, I've been super high on Ray Davis, and I think he just went to the perfect spot.
And what was the Arizona Cardinals' biggest issue defensively last year?
I think that they had a really hard time stopping the run. Yeah.
So you could say
Ray Davis is going to come in hot.
I think it's going to be. I would love to see if this is Marvin Harrison versus Ray Davis week 1.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's for me.
Wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo scripted just a healthy dose of 3 running backs in a cycle.
Yeah. Who's their third? Is Latavius still there?
I'm not sure. I think Gore might be reading as the third, to be honest with you.
It's Ty Johnson.
It's Ty Johnson.
And then Gore's there, and Darrington Evans is there as well. So we'll see. Darrington Evans will probably get cut in training camp. But James Cook, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis. That's a cut too.
Yeah.
That's a good run. So Cardinals from the NFL draft, they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr., Darius Robinson on the defensive end. They drafted Max Melton at linebacker, and they drafted Tip Reiman at tight end, which I thought was interesting. He's more of a blocking tight end. So
It needed it though. They absolutely needed it.
the other guy I'm interested in is Trey Benson. So they've got James Conner and Trey Benson now, this sort of like
Right.
1-2 punch. And I think he's going to take a while to get started, but I'm excited. I'm excited to draft a lot of James Conner, and I'm excited to bet overs on a lot of James Conner rushing because I think that their line is good. It's, Will Hernandez, Jonah Williams. They've still got Paris Johnson they drafted the year before last, and Evan Brown. So it's a decent line. Tip Reiman's a good blocking tight end. Out of which college did he go to? I can't remember. Let me bring it up. Yeah, he went to Illinois. So Illinois is a tight end factory there. And
So
Trey McBride.
Can we just touch on the running back position for a second for the Cardinals?
Yeah.
James Conner has always been an incredible running back.
Yeah. He's always
James Conner,
underrated.
when he's in the game, he's extremely underrated. I don't know why. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
Dating back to his time in Pittsburgh, he runs super hard.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's not the type of guy that's going to make a ton of defenders miss, but he's going to get 3-4 yards after, after contact.
Yep.
I don't know if this is like a stat that can be pulled up, but I do know that every time I turn on the television when the Cardinals are playing, it seems like James Conner's in the end zone.
Right. Yeah. 100% agree.
I don't know how many tuds he got last year or what he's got over the past 5 years.
Good question.
But it's a ridiculous stat. I know it is.
Yeah.
They use him so much in the red zone. My thought process here is he's the most effective when he's able to make contact and get another yard or two. His
7
injury
touchdowns last year. His first season of over 1,000 yards, 1,040 yards, 7 rushes.
Yeah, they relied on him heavy, and that was a relatively healthy year for him. But the years prior have not been so healthy.
Right.
Even in those years, I think he scored more than the 7, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I remember games scored 2 or 3.
He had 15 touchdowns
15
in 2021.
15. Yeah, so he had 15. And what was the year before that?
6 in 2020, but he also missed
majority of the year.
4 games. 2019, he missed 7 games.
7 games.
Yeah.
So you look at it is a while ago, but you look at where they're using him with his age being a factor and the wear. I do believe that Trey Benson will be utilized a whole heck of a lot more than a lot of people realize.
Right.
I think between the 20s, you've got a very healthy young back that has shown that he can muscle and he can run hard.
Right.
And let James Conner come in and do what he does best.
Yeah.
And bang out the extra 2 yards, bang out the extra 3 yards when you're in the red zone. When you're first and 10 from the 10.
Yeah.
Like, hey, that first run, at least you're getting over 3.
Yep.
Run him again. You're probably getting over 3, and then guess what? Run him again. And I don't know. I don't know if this is going to be super accurate, but my heart tells me that James Conner is going to have the best touchdown statistical year of his career in this situation.
But so exactly what you're saying. So from week 13 on for the rest of the season, James Conner has scored week 13, 2 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 0 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 1 touchdown. So he had 5 touchdowns in the last 5 games of the season.
That's right. I think he's a touchdown a game. So I think I would peg him. I peg him. I would put money on over 16 touchdowns.
He was getting that's too many. He was.
I don't think it is.
A ton as well. 25 attempts, 26 attempts for 128 yards, 27 attempts in weeks.
Where the attempts are going to come
for 150 yards.
That's honestly where I feel so strong about James Conner, them keeping James Conner healthy and not utilizing him in a lot of the grunt role in between the 20s, the chewing the yards. I I think you're going to probably see like a 30% decrease in the utilization in between the 20s.
Yeah.
And you're going to watch well, I don't think it can be increased because they really only had him, to pound the rock into the end zone. But with that being said, I honestly think they're gonna roll off of rush it 2 to 3 times when
Mhm.
they're in the red zone and then play action. And you
Mhm.
just keep you just keep pounding that.
Yeah.
Aside from Marvin Harrison, who that they're going to take a couple deep shots to, what does that receiving core look like for danger in the red zone?
I think because their other option is still just Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch are the other options there. There's Trey
Right.
McBride as well, who's a factor. I think that this offense will be Kyler, James Conner, Marvin Harrison, and Trey
That's
McBride
what
pretty
I'm
much all
saying.
season.
So when you get into the red zone, what are you leaning on, right? And if you have double coverages set up against Marvin Harrison, which is going to happen,
Yeah.
it's going to happen. And I think teams early on, especially, the best thing you can do if you're a defensive coordinator is to take a player that's unfamiliar with the NFL and stack a safety over the top, pull him in there, and let him learn what it's like at the NFL level. Like just double shadow him, make his life a living hell.
Yeah.
And if you can't get your number one receiver going early in a game, and if you get him off his game, then you're winning.
Mhm.
So you can still stack a box and double cover somebody.
Yeah.
So I you're man to man on the outsides, you're double covering, and you got the big boys out front. And I think they're going to face a lot of that to start the year. However, I think when you get into the red zone, it's exactly what you just said. It's Marvin Harrison is a read
Yeah.
on those plays. Is it going to be Kyler, or is it going to be who they're handing the ball to? And I will put money, heavy money, on James Conner getting a lot of those opportunities. They don't owe him anything after this. I think this is last year of his contract.
This would have to be, yeah.
Yeah. So you're on the last year contract. You know that he's not going to sign for big money after this. He's pretty much toast.
Yeah.
He's pretty much toast. Hey, you're paying him.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Give him the fucking ball.
What I also want to just finish on is just a little bit of Marvin Harrison Jr. if we may, because like I was alluding to earlier, these first 4 weeks look fantastic for Marvin Harrison Jr. Buffalo, LA Rams, Detroit, and Washington. So what, Detroit has only just drafted, who they take? Terry and Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw. I think that they're going to take a while to get started. The Rams, who you could easily throw on last year, they added Tre'Davious White, who's a bit old and I think is nearly sort of.
I would.
Again.
Those divisional games keep me off.
Yeah, keep you out of it. And then the left corner is Darius Williams from they brought over from Jacksonville. Like there's not a lot I'm seeing here. And the same for Washington. We know that they were one of the worst pass teams as well last season. So I'm into, if they're going to start moving the ball like they did the end of last year with Kyler, I'm into Marvin Harrison Jr. for sure.
Me too. And just with nothing else really being a great option, right?
Yeah.
And he's a big body.
Week one, 65.5 yards, I think is his line. And I'm going to bet
take the over.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Oh yeah, take the over.
Yeah.
And I think the whole world will be taking that. I think 65 is a little high, to be honest with you.
It is. Yeah, it is for a first game.
It is. And I don't know if it will be 65. That's like a T. Higgins line.
Yeah. But
I don't know. Can you see that? I don't know.
Who else is going to be there? No one. There's going to be, and the corners are not good for Buffalo. So we'll see.
We'll definitely see. We will definitely see. Anyway, if I'm going to take a futures pick out of this entire team,
mm-hmm.
It is the over on the touchdowns for James Conner, because I know that the number's not going to be 16.
It's going to be like 10. It'll be like
it's going to be probably less than 10.
Yeah, probably less than 10.
It'll be 9.
Yeah. And you're taking it up to 16?
Of course I'm taking. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if I have the option to move that on a sliding scale, I'm telling you, I'll take it up to 15, no problem.
Yeah.
And I'm marking it right now, like James Conner, easy over 9, like easy, like sailing over 9 touchdowns this year.
I'm into it. Based on what he did at the end of last year, I'm very into this. Only thing that concerns me is he needed between week 10, oh, sorry, all season, basically all season, his line for receiving yards was around 15 and a half. He went over it just twice. All
Yeah,
season.
yeah.
So
No,
receiving
no,
is just not there.
no, no, no. Then that's not what they're paying him for.
Yeah.
Know what they're paying him for. This late in his career, you know what they're paying him for, and they want their money's worth.
Yeah.
I kid you not. He will get the ball more than 50% of the snaps that are
Yeah.
in the red zone. He will get.
Yeah. And that's why I think Trey
Let
Benson
me put
probably
money
come.
on that. Let me put fucking money on that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's too easy. It's too easy.
And that's where I think Trey Benson will come in between the 20s and spell James Conner every now and then, but I'm not worried about that at all for him.
Trey Benson's year is
next year.
not this year, next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
But he's still gonna have a great year. So like if you get a line, I think in the opening week of Trey Benson with like 20 yards or something like stupid like that.
Yeah.
Like a Chase Brown line when he started playing with Cincinnati, like, hey, 15 rushing yards. Okay. You'd be a fool to not ride that hard at the beginning of the year. You'd be a fool. Because James Conner, they're not going to start the season with rushing James Conner 25 times because they don't have to, because they want to save it for when the guy's going to be in the red zone. So you're going to give the ball to the young, healthy guy that's proven that he can do it. And they didn't draft Trey Benson to let him sit on the bench. He's NFL ready. He's going to come in. He's going to get over his 15. He's going to get over his 20. And then by week 5, the guy's going to be sitting at 45, 50 yards, and then you could start going, oh, this is getting a little tight.
Right.
But those first couple weeks, ride Trey Benson, but ride James Conner to get into the fucking end zone.
That's it.
Yeah.